Hi, Alice Muller here. Welcome to a brief video on designing and supporting distance learning. A quick guide for the academic suddenly thrust into the role of distance learning facilitator. In these unusual times, we are all suddenly finding ourselves with the need to create digital learning activities for our students in lieu of face-to-face teaching. And as I've got a little experience with doing distance learning, I'd already have had some questions about how to do this the best way, and I'm not the world's biggest expert on digital learning, but I've put together a quick guide that we can use to help us make digital learning accessible and fun. So the first thing for us as educators, the scariest thing is getting comfortable with the software, and for a lot of us this is a big step to have to get comfortable with the software, but really be pragmatic. What do you need to know in order to do what you need to do? So start taking a look at the software and start learning how to use it and play with it a little. I recommend using sways and forms for digital learning activities as a quick step. Sways are online presentation pages that look like a web page. They are really easy to fill in, and I've put another video up showing you how to make a quick sway that is interactive. The forms allow you to design quizzes and get the answers sent straight to you. They can be embedded into the sway. You can send a link to the sway to the students, and it can have embedded videos as well. So what I would suggest you do is go to my other video to take a look at an example of how to adapt your materials into a sway. The other thing to do is get comfortable with Zoom as an online live classroom. That's what we're using here at Swansea University, and it's relatively straightforward. Obviously, check the audio and video are working, and share your screen like I'm doing as a PowerPoint or online, or a video you might be watching together. You can also customize the background so that users can see a different background when you present in Zoom sessions. At the moment, you can see my study behind me. This is where I do all my work at home, but you can actually customize your background depending on what you want your students to see. You can actually record and save your Zoom sessions. You can upload them to a sway for sharing or to a SharePoint site. The main thing is to look at the software and learn your way around it. And remember, there are always YouTube videos that show you how to use different types of software. Other options could be live presentations, for example, anything that you might be comfortable with. The next step is to take a look at your session and its learning outcomes. This might be you're looking at a whole module and planning how to deliver a whole module, but for each individual learning activities, for example, if you had a set of lectures timetables, you need to think about what the learning outcomes and change your approach to think about how they can reach those learning outcomes by an interactive distance learning activity of one kind or another. The key is interactivity. Please remember to keep it interactive. The more your resources are interactive, the more effective they will be. So being interactive means that you actually have to do something with the material. You might have to write down an analysis of a video you've been watching. You might have to review a written piece of work. You might have to fill out a quiz. Anything that you have to do with that material leads to deeper learning, hence the need for interactivity. You can obviously do online live classes, but try to avoid anything longer than an hour in length. Keep them as short as you can. Shorter classes keep people's attention and enable them to manage around other demands, and people can more easily plan around shorter time periods. It's kinder to give people plenty of space to work around this, especially if they've got their kids at home and other demands on their time. If you've got an all-day class that you would usually deliver, try to just do a maximum of 2 one-hour sessions with a good break in between. And think about what is best in a live class and what will be best done as an asynchronous learning activity. This means something people can do in their own time. These are unusual times, so try to design as much content as possible that can be managed by the student whilst balancing the need to make contact in the live classroom, and mix up your activities. Please try to avoid just posting a PowerPoint for people to review. Turn it into a sway instead. Create a set of activities so that students can easily break up their learning into manageable chunks. The next thing is to think about fitting the activity that you choose to do to the topic or the task. Think about the best way to get people to engage in this particular activity, in this particular topic. Remember the focus of the session. So for factual information, Can you find or even make a video that people can watch themselves and then follow up with a quiz or a live session in which everyone discusses what they saw, or a discussion board or a live text chat? For group tasks, how could you get students to learn with and from each other digitally? Perhaps they could collaborate on creating a presentation, a video or a poster to be shared in a live classroom, for example. You can use breakout rooms in Zoom for this, but it can be hard for people to find time to be together for group activities. Consider suggesting that small groups agree to their own times to come together online. Practical sessions are the most challenging to try and deliver digitally, but look for existing resources such as videos and animations on your topic that you could incorporate into your teaching, obviously respecting intellectual property and copyright. The next thing is to communicate lots with the students and other staff. Once you have a plan for how your modules and sessions will be delivered, you need to maintain that clear communication with all students and staff about what sessions will be delivered when, so that they can plan around it. Also, clearly define what the expectations are of them. State when live online sessions will be at timetable times. Try and stick to your previous timetable if you can. Let people know the number of hours per week of self-directed study and how long tasks should take. This should allow them to plan and manage their work effectively and to feel like they're in charge of their own learning. It's a good idea to establish a process of regular daily communications with your team and your students, and remind them all the time that you're still engaged, you're still there, and you're accessible. And this can help combat the sense of loneliness and isolation for everybody. Then remind them regularly of the key information about the module, such as the assignment and how the work relates to the assignment and when the deadline is, and don't forget to get your supervision, etc. Set reminders for yourself and check in regularly with the students as often as you can. So another good idea would be to consider having office hours where students can drop in for a chat in the Zoom classroom. Just book a Zoom meeting as normal, send out a link to the students with the time you will be there, and then log in and wait to see if anyone pops in. You can always get on with other things while you have the Zoom classroom open, but it gives this, and you obviously wouldn't record that because the students might discuss things that are private, but you can manage that then when you're there in real time. And if more than one student is there at a time, everyone will be aware that someone else is there. So you can manage confidentiality. You can always create a meeting that is obviously a tutorial that is just for you and this one student, and only send that student if the student wants a private tutorial. The next thing is to evaluate and review what you're doing regularly. We know the best laid plans can go awry for lots of reasons. So it's important to evaluate your sessions and each learning activity at a defined time. Try to act as if you were a brand new lecturer again, just setting out and just learning. And so you need that constant evaluation and review to help you hone your talents. It's a good idea to reflect on your live lectures and seminars immediately afterwards, either as an individual or with your team. And this allows you to identify what you could change next time. Monitor engagement with other learning activities when it comes to students, and review and evaluate with students to check accessibility of materials. Also, check in on their experience of learning. It makes them feel good, but it also gives you a chance to think about, could I do something else differently? And always have a backup plan. Technology can fail at the worst time. Broadband speeds can falter, a laptop can crash. Other things can interfere, such as family demands. You could become unwell. So create a fail-safe for your sessions and ensure you have a buddy who could step in if needed. Which leads on to the next slide. Share the load. Particularly in these troubling times, it's really a good idea to identify, collaborate with, and share with a colleague what you are doing for modules and sessions, so there's a backup should you be unavailable. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help is a strength, not a weakness, and it can make others feel valued if you turn to them for support. Offer what help you can. Be realistic about this. Whether this be joining live taught sessions as an extra voice or helping to create content. Perhaps you can host breakout rooms or mini meetings as part of group work. Remember, others might also have ideas of how best to share information and how to engage the students. So don't be afraid to ask others for their ideas on what you could do next. So this is a bit where my numbering goes wrong in my PowerPoint, but never mind. Let's look at the basic principles. Accessibility. Make sure you use presentations and resources with a high color contrast. Avoid using multiple images on the same slide. Caption readers can only read one image at a time for people who have difficulty seeing things. Try not to have images as backgrounds to slides or presentations, as this can make them harder to read. And take a look at the principles of universal instructional design. Here is a link to a YouTube video, which is really good on the topic. If you're using images, put a caption on them so caption readers can read them, or include a description on the slide. And think about the speed at which you do things like this. You won't be able to see how quickly people are following you in a virtual classroom, either live or recorded. So slow down and give ample time. Although people can pause a recording, they can't pause a live classroom and may not be comfortable asking you to stop while they catch up. If you're recording videos, carry out a screen test first, in which you can play the video back, check for visibility and audibility before doing your whole video. It certainly saves you some time. And keep the content interactive. So design your tests, quizzes, or feedback forms so people can engage with the content. You don't need to be a technical whiz to use Sway with embedded forms. That is a really simple way of making things interactive. The forms can just give an opportunity to get some feedback on how much the students have understood something, or to just show that they've actually done something with that particular learning resource. If you're preparing students in advance with pre-reading or pre-class activities, give ample time for them to do this, at least a week's notice. And check in with the students regularly to review accessibility of and progress with the learning resources. Go to the SALT web pages at Swansea University to look for ideas on designing learning activities. They've got plenty of information. And also to the SAILS website to look at information on inclusive learning. And finally, see this as a learning and development opportunity for yourself as an educator. Explore the published literature on distance learning pedagogies and look at digitized learning and pedagogies. Give yourself a chance to grow. This is really a chance to expand and grow and to learn new things. And yes, it's scary, but nothing worth having was ever easily come by. Take a look at the Curriculum Inclusivity Toolkit for more ideas on how to make your learning activities inclusive. If you work at Swansea University, then all you have to do is email me and I'll send you a link to the toolkit. And play to your strengths. You are still the same teacher. So identify the best ways for you to get your message across. Another thing is to see this as something that is going to help you. So keep a log of your activities and write about them. This can be useful for your PDR in the future or for publications. You can share what you've done with others to help them on their journeys, and you can share your successes and your less than successes and look for solutions together. Remember, keep it fun, keep it simple, and just keep going. You've got this. Thank you. For other videos, including my Sway instruction video, please take a look at my channel. Please consider subscribing to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you in my next exciting video of how to do this online distance thing. Bye.